My name's Richard Goodall from Terre Haute, Indiana. I've lived in Terre Haute my whole life. I was that kid up in my bedroom with the Radio Shack stereo. My favorite thing was just to sit up and listen to my music, and I'd just belt it out. I gotta find me a job. So I became a janitor at Chauncey Rose Middle School, which is only 3 blocks away from my house.
In the summer of 2024, America's Got Talent gave us a man who felt like the American dream in its purest form. He was a humble janitor from Terre Haute, Indiana, with a voice that could shake a room and a story that could make even the most cynical person feel something. His name was Richard Goodall, and to millions, he wasn't just another contestant, he was a symbol of hope. He was living proof that it's never too late to be discovered and that a quiet life of hard work could, one day, earn you a global stage and a roaring ovation. The story was perfect. It was the kind of narrative television is built for, designed to inspire us, lift us up, and pull us in. We saw the man who had spent over 2 decades mopping floors and cleaning classrooms, who sang to himself in empty hallways, suddenly standing in the spotlight. We watched as a man who, according to the broadcast, had barely traveled, overcame his fears to chase a dream he hardly dared to say out loud. And we were right there with the judges when Heidi Klum slammed her hand on the golden buzzer. The gold confetti rained down on a weeping, grateful man, and it sent a message to the world: this is what it's all about. By all accounts, it was a fairy tale that we saw the dream play out on live TV. The standing ovations, the praise from Simon Cowell, the finale performance with the legendary band Journey, it was a storybook ending for the singing janitor who won the whole thing. But what happens after the cameras stop rolling? When the confetti is swept away and the $1 million prize is just a number waiting to hit a bank account? What happens when that perfect fairy tale, so carefully built by TV producers, runs into the messy and often cruel real world? AGT gave us a hero's journey, but behind the scenes, a different story was taking shape, one of intense online scrutiny, private financial realities, and the quiet, disorienting truth of what happens after the dream supposedly comes true. This is what America's Got Talent didn't tell you about Richard Goodall. To get the story AGT didn't tell, you first have to appreciate the one they did. The producers of America's Got Talent aren't just looking for talent, they're looking for stories. And with Richard Goodall, they struck gold. Here was a 55-year-old man from the heartland, a janitor at West Vigo High School for 23 years, known simply and affectionately as Mr. Richard by the students. He wasn't some polished performer from a big city or a young influencer with a slick social media game. He was, in his own words, just a regular guy doing a humble job. This wasn't just a backstory, it was the entire foundation of his appeal. When he walked onto that stage in Pasadena, looking a little overwhelmed and completely unassuming, nobody knew what to expect. There's always that tension in the air, a mix of hope and skepticism. Are we about to see another gimmick, or is this something real? When? He told the judges he was a janitor. A hush fell over the crowd, a moment heavy with unspoken assumptions. His song choice was a stroke of genius, whether it was his idea or a producer's suggestion. Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. That song is more than a classic rock anthem, it's a piece of our culture, tied to the very idea of hope, perseverance, and the small-town dreamer. As his powerful, soulful voice filled the auditorium, you could feel the whole narrative just click into place. He wasn't just singing a song, he was the song. He was the small-town boy living in a lonely world, taking that midnight train going anywhere. The reaction was immediate, and it was electric. Heidi Klum wasn't just impressed, she was visibly moved, seeing him as the embodiment of the show's purpose. Her golden buzzer wasn't just for his voice, it was for his story. It was the show planting a flag and declaring, "This is our guy. This is the story we want to tell this year." The whole televised package was a masterclass in emotional storytelling. It highlighted his humility, his dedication to his job, and the years he spent singing to empty halls, all while his school's students and staff cheered him on from back home. His journey was presented as the ultimate American dream. This narrative was hammered home at every opportunity. His performances of songs like Eye of the Tiger weren't just song choices, they were chapters in his story. He was a fighter, a dedicated man, a hero. Simon Cowell even told him, "We all need a hero right now, and you are our hero." The show leaned into it hard, and the fans echoed it online, calling him the best of what AGT stands for, and a return to the show's roots of finding amazing talent in ordinary people. The finale was his coronation. Performing with members of Journey, the band that wrote his anthem, was the kind of full-circle moment TV producers live for. It was the ultimate validation. When he was crowned the winner of Season 19, beating out polished, high-tech acts, it felt like a win for every person who ever felt overlooked. It was a victory for humility, for authenticity, for the simple power of a great voice and a story that hits you in the heart. America didn't just vote for a singer, they voted for the story. As Richard Goodall stood on that stage, a millionaire with tears in his eyes, it seemed like the fairy tale was complete. But this is where the TV story ends, and the real one begins, the second the confetti settled and the headlines started screaming, "Janitor to millionaire," a very different reality began to take shape. The story that had launched Richard Goodall to victory also put a giant target on his back. The bright lights of the AGT stage cast some long, dark shadows, and in those shadows, a storm of online debate and real-world pressure was brewing. The first complication came from the internet's court of public opinion. While millions were celebrating, a vocal minority began to pick his story apart. Across social media, forums, and comment sections, the backlash started. The criticism wasn't just about his voice, it was about why he won. Skeptics started asking if he'd won on pure talent or if he'd been carried by a sob story. His powerful versions of classic rock songs were dismissed by some as just elevated karaoke. The argument was that Goodall didn't really bring anything new to the table. He was just a very good cover singer whose real appeal was nostalgia and a good backstory. For a man who had just achieved a lifelong dream, this was a tough welcome to fame. Just try to imagine being Richard Goodall for a second. By all accounts, he never wanted fame for fame's sake. He said his love for singing was a music and people thing, not a "hey, look at me" thing. Suddenly, he was being dissected by thousands of strangers online. Every note was analyzed, his motives were questioned, and his character was debated. Was he a real artist or just a product manufactured for reality TV? Was his humility genuine, or was it just an act for the cameras? That kind of scrutiny is a heavy weight for anyone, let alone a guy who, just months earlier, was living a quiet life in Indiana. The AGT fairy tale had no room for this. It didn't show the emotional gut punch of reading comments that invalidate the biggest moment of your life. It didn't show the sting of being called a karaoke singer right after you shared the stage with your musical heroes. The dream, it turned out, came with a very painful and unexpected price, but the online chatter was just one piece of it. There were also the private, practical struggles the cameras never show. The AGT narrative presents a man whose life is instantly fixed by $1 million prize. The reality is way more complicated. That prize money, while life-changing, doesn't just appear in a suitcase. There are contracts to sign, lawyers and managers to pay, and a huge chunk goes to taxes. The actual payout often comes in installments over a long period of time. Meanwhile, life goes on. This is the gap between the perception of fame and the reality of the situation. The show presents a hero who made it on his own, but it was his community in Indiana that had supported him for years. They were the ones who first encouraged him, and their support was a testament to the man they knew long before the cameras showed up. This combination of public criticism and private financial realities paints a picture that's a world away from the simple, happy story that aired on TV. It shows the immense pressure put on ordinary people who are suddenly thrown into the spotlight. You're expected to be a perfect hero while navigating a world of critics, opportunists, and the cold machinery of the entertainment industry. The story AGT told was about a dream realized. The one they didn't tell was about the quiet struggle that can come right along with it, this contrast between the public fairy tale and the private struggle is a fascinating, and often hidden, part of modern fame. If you find this look behind the curtain interesting, and if you believe in digging deeper than the headlines, take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. We're all about uncovering the stories the mainstream tends to miss, and by subscribing, you won't miss what we look into next at So What Happens After the Storm? When the cheers fade and the online noise dies down, what does life actually look like for the singing janitor who won America's Got Talent? This might be the most surprising and telling part of Richard Goodall's story, the part that says more about his character than any TV performance ever could. Because what he did next went against everything we expect a reality show winner to do. That he went back to work. Months after winning $1 million and securing a headlining show in Las Vegas, Richard Goodall went back to West Vigo High School. He picked up his keys, put on his uniform, and went back to being a janitor. He was still Mr. Richard, the guy who wipes down tables, takes out the trash, and waxes the floors. In a world that expects you to instantly transform, move to LA, buy a flashy car, become a whole new person, his decision felt like a quiet act of rebellion. It was a powerful statement about his priorities, his identity, and what he considers success. In interviews, he explained it with that same humility that won everyone over. He said he was still the same person, that not much had really changed. He admitted he had a manager now and that doors were opening, but he talked about wanting to stay grounded. He said he couldn't imagine not working at the school and that he planned to keep doing it until his music career got so busy that he just couldn't do both. As of early 2025, he was still juggling both. He'd take time off for a concert or a performance, but he always came back to his post at the school. This decision is the most important, untold part of his story. It's an ending that reality TV could never write because it goes against the whole idea of escape that these shows are built on. The promise of a show like AGT is that winning is your ticket out of your ordinary life. For Richard Goodall, winning was a ticket to making his life bigger, not escaping it. His job wasn't some prison he was desperate to break out of, it was part of who he is. It was his connection to his community, to the kids who knew he could sing all along, and to a life of service he clearly values. His life now exists in this fascinating balance. One day, he's posting a picture from inside the school on social media, with a caption like, "Waxing floors today. Hope your day is a great one." Next, he's performing at a festival, singing the national anthem at a game, or opening for a big-name comedian. He also got married to his longtime love, Angie, just a week before the AGT finale, a huge personal milestone that grounded him in the middle of all the chaos. His life has become, as he put it, unscripted. For the first time, that unscripted reality is where the real story is. He's figuring out his new life on his own terms. He has a manager and tour date scheduled for 2025, and he's taking the opportunities that come his way. But he isn't letting them change him or pull him away from his roots. He told one interviewer that the music itself means more to him than the prize money. "Music helps me forget about what is going on in my day-to-day life," he said. "Listening to music gives us a chance to take a breath." What AGT didn't tell you is that Richard Goodall's Real win wasn't the show. His real victory is what he's doing right now. Fitting his dream into his life.